we didn't get taught mental fitness in school. We didn't get taught how to take care of our mental fitness, right? And we don't even understand emotions and the different ranges of emotions and how to express those emotions. So as you're going through life and you're trying to live up to everything that society tells you should do, you're getting hit constantly. You should be this, you should take care of that, and none of that is being expressed. And then I think by the time you get to 45, 55, you also start to question, what's my value? What am I adding? Am I safe? Am I respected? Am I loved? And then all of a sudden you start to feel all these emotions when you start to realize you're not actually Superman anymore. Life is catching up with you. And I think that's quite a shock for many men. I'm not saying that this is the only answer, but I think that's quite a shock when it hits you that all these emotions that you were literally having to just compartmentalize because you have to just go out and get stuff done. You have to go and get shit done. So you didn't have the time to start sitting there. How do I feel about this? What does it mean? Let's go out and get it done. Then now all of a sudden there's nowhere to run. And you have to start, I call it opening Pandora's box. And if you've been going through your life and you haven't opened up, it can be overwhelming. You don't even know where to start. Plus, you don't even have the tools, how to feel these range of emotion, who to talk. The biggest thing is when you're doing this, you need to talk to people. And the problem with men is we say, oh, men don't talk. It's sometimes we don't even know how to. We've not used that muscle at all. And then all of a sudden you want us to start expressing our deepest, darkest feelings and don't even know where to start. Are you ready to dive deep into meaningful discussions, explore personal stories, and gain practical insights that can transform your approach to mental fitness? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Real Talk Mental Fitness Podcast, where open conversation and authentic connections come together to empower your mental well-being. I'm your host, Chinazom, and I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
One of the key things that you come back to over and over in your book is the value of real talk in all areas of your life, in everyday life.
Mm.
You talk about the value of incorporating real talk at the dinner table when you're sitting with your family enjoying a meal, in social settings where you're shooting the breeze and catching up with friends, and even at work, rather than just looking to the comfort and safety of your coaching or therapy session.
Mm.
What's important about that? Infusing those kinds of conversations throughout all the parts of your life.
Because for me, it's it's hitting me now. You can't have high quality mental fitness without high quality real talk. Because it's only with the real talk that you start to open up. I call it going below the surface. Because half the time when we're on autopilot, we're just doing stuff. We don't even know why we're doing it. And we're just rushing around. And it's only with real talk that you go below the surface and you start to understand, what is that emotion? Is it fear? Is it guilt? Is it shame? What is it that's driving me? And you need that you can't just get it from your therapist and your coach, because that's just one person. And that's just in this, I don't know, one period of time, snapshot. Your life is constantly going on. And I feel with the right friendship circle, with the right family, if all the people that you have more touch points with are having those real conversations with you, really going below the surface, just think how much clarity you have in your life and how much peace of mind and gratitude and joy, because you will actually realize, you see things, once you see things more clearly, you actually realize what a gift life is, and you will also be able to bring your best self because you're conscious of what you're doing, you're intentional of what you're doing. So this is why I think that's why I call the book Real Talk, because if we had more real talk all around us, I think all therapists will thank you, because they won't deal with this mess that comes in where you're now having to unwind everything and kind of pick through how I felt, why I should have said or not said. If you were doing that with all the support system around you, just it'd be mind blowing for me.
I definitely love when I was thinking of jumping into coaching, just on the point that you just made. You reminded me that the real work actually happens between coaching sessions. When you're out in the world, actually living your life, so the aha moment that you have, or that thread of a thought,
Yeah,
that spark of courage that you feel in the coaching session where you feel you're most free, you're most alive, you're most seen and heard. The work is taking that and building on that in your real life. And I
yeah,
and I never forget when you said that to me, and I thought, so even in my intention as a coach to hold space for my clients, there's only but so much I can do. They are always in the driver's seat. The ball is in their court to
yeah.
create the kind of life they want to have and be the kind of person they want to be, you know? So that's so powerful. In one of your mind flexes, mind flex number 5, you say, engage with the tough moments in life. Don't sit back and check out.
Hmm.
These are the times you will truly cherish later on. What did you hope to inspire with that powerful reminder?
I think the first thing I was trying to do was bring people to the awareness that it's in those tough moments that you really learn about yourself and you really grow. But I think our default is the emotion is bubbling up. It's really strong. It's really, oh my God, it's about, and our default is as human beings, we don't want to feel that pain or uncomfortable. So we just, you know, we do whatever we can to move it to the side, to shut it off, to switch it off. And for me, I use this term excitified, and I use it all the time. Where the last 6, 7 years, I had to start leaning into that feeling because I started to know that when that feeling is coming, it's the universe is bringing something my way. So I needed to really like lean into it and feel all the emotions, all because that's the only way you get that message. So what I was trying to do with that mind flex is starting to make people realize that I was trying to a mind switch, switching people's mindsets that instead of running away, instead of trying to numb yourself to drink or whatever from that emotion, that emotion is a gift, and you need to run towards it. And whenever I used to say to people that, they look at me like I'm crazy. Why would I run towards it? But when you look at the flip side, that this emotion is a gift. This emotion is going to make you better. This emotion is going to make you grow. All the things that you care about in life that give you joy, this is bringing it, because you have to grow, you have to become that person to bring that vision that you care about. So that's what I was trying to do with that mind flex, and that comes from, actually, I don't know if it's up there, my favorite poem by Rumi, where I think when I was writing that, it's like when you read The Guest House by Rumi, it talks about how you should greet all the thoughts that come into your head, because it's like a guest house. So all the same way you'd greet the joyous happy thought, when the dark, scary thought comes, you should greet it like a nice guest and with smiles. I always stays in my head that if you're able to do that when all those emotions are bubbling up, then you really will start to crack the mental fitness game. Because I think Rumi sums it perfectly, is that sometimes when these dark thoughts or this, why did this happen to me? But when you work through it, you always see that, oh my God, okay, that's why it happened to me. There was a lesson there that I had to learn. I had to change. So that's what I was going with that mind flex.
This one is especially like, if I didn't even know. I don't have a word for it. I just have an emotion. That, that's how you know. It's like I can't even put into words, but I feel it. I feel it, the embodiment of it.
Yeah.
Um, Hard to express it. Because even as a woman, and a woman who's relatively self-aware, very talkative, very expressive, I have
Mm,
a hard time, as you know, facing hard emotions sometimes. I'm the kind of person who likes to look at it, but very quickly skip over and move on to the more positive, uplifting, high energy emotion that is waiting just around the corner, just across the park, just across the way. Uh,
yeah.
and I kind of I'm looking at the negative emotion as I'm walking by it. But I'm looking and I'm like, hi, bye. I'm not gonna sit and engage. So the concept of bringing that emotion into my home as a guest and giving them a place to sit, offering them something to sip on, a small snack, and going through pleasantries is mind blowing to me. And that one is going to be, that's probably my life's work. That's going to be a work in progress for me for a while. But I can only imagine that then for men who, we started at the top of this conversation with acknowledging that because of the roles that you play and because of some of the norms that have been established societally, that compartmentalizing that is such a strength is potentially part of what makes it hard to do what you just described and what Rumi encourages of inviting all thoughts and all emotions as guests into your living room. So for a man having read that Mind Flex, I can only imagine what they must be grappling with, the scale of that challenge that you've given.
I can imagine it's really, really tough, especially where you've gone all your life and you've just been, this is my goal, this is why I do things, and this is why I show up. And you did that from, let's say you were 10 to 20, then you went from 20 to 30. That's a lot of issues and emotions that were bubbling up, but you're like, no, let's just put it to the side. Then you get to 30 to 40. And then by the time you're like now 40 to 50 and you want to start opening it up, I always call it like, oh my God. It's like you go to look at it, you open, and it's like, it's too much at one time. And I think for a man, it must be very, very hard when you can't logically, because when you're dealing with these dark emotions and things where you have to process it, it's not just like a logical, clear process. Okay, do this, and you get a result. And I think that's where I think men would struggle. And I'm more speaking for myself, where if you had spoken to me in my earlier years, I would be, what's the benefit? If you can't tell me what the benefit is, why am I doing this? And then I'll just push it to the side. It's not relevant now. And I can't see what the benefit in doing this. So who cares how I feel? This is what we need to do.
It's so funny when you say this, because even as you were speaking, I had that question come up to myself, even for, someone who's in their 40s or 50s, for example, who've gotten through the bulk of their life. It's good enough, right? Well, however they've been doing it, it's good enough. What is that added benefit of kind of entertaining those tougher emotions that they have become experts in putting in a box? And it has been beneficial to put it in a box, because with the mental fitness that you're talking about, it doesn't eradicate those negative or challenging emotions, and it doesn't make them less impactful on you.
Not at all, no. But it just changes your mindset to start to realize that it is important to tune into it, and then when you do, something good can come from it. You just have to have the patience to persevere. But unfortunately, the sad thing, as you were saying, is it just reminded me that with life, men usually wait till it's too late. Their wife is leaving them or about to leave them. They have an alcoholic. They're now alcoholics, or they did some other substance abuse, or they've had a mental breakdown. And that's what's quite sad, is like, I don't know why. That's why when you said that word proactive, it's so painful to watch when you've lost your mental health. And then all of a sudden it's like the light bulb. Oh, damn, this should have been important. And that's why I'm really trying to, someone said, maybe take the book and hit it over people's head. Like, I'm trying to get to the bit, is like, please be proactive now. Don't wait till we're on medication or whatever. Like, can we do something about this before it's too late? Because it's a lot harder trying to retroactively pick up the pieces and try to start fixing things. It's almost impossible. I think I use this analogy: when a plate smashes, try and super glue a plate back together after it smashes. It's like that's what, to me, is like trying to put your mental fitness back after you've lost it.
Never the same.
Never the same. It never quite looks the same or feels the same. That was a bit of a somber moment.
That
I,
was.
I don't want, I don't want to leave it there because
No, I still have some. I still have a few questions for you. Actually, if that's okay. If we still have a little bit of time.
okay.
You talk a lot about trusted advisors. You mentioned it at at the start of this conversation, and you talk about the importance of having trusted advisors in your book. What does good look like, and more importantly, what does it feel like when it comes to having trusted advisors in your life or in all the key parts of your life?
So I'm actually going to go with when I wrote this book, and the person doesn't like me saying this, but he was my coach at the time, and I like to say he's a friend now. And I kept saying it to him because when I wrote this book, I was about to become a dad for the second time. The economic climate was going bananas, so my job was extremely stressful at the time. I think I just moved house, or I was in the I just moved house. So to talk about that was not the condition where you think, you know what, I'm going to write my first book this time. But having that trusted advisor where I raised the idea, kind of like, and he immediately was like, you should do it. And then I was like, is this guy crazy? Like, did he not hear what have I been telling him about what's happening in my life? But he then started to break down what is involved, what do you need to do, who do you need to speak to? And then before you know it, the book was out there. So I always say to him is that, my God, like if I had met you when I was 25 instead of 45, I really cannot imagine what my life would have turned out. Because just having that sounding board, and I'm not saying that a trust advisor has to look like you or feel like, but this person came from the same background as me. So it was like so much easier to, when you're trying to share something, they just instinctively get certain things and like they can relate to it and they can, share it back to you. So it was so powerful. But the main thing was having that connection where this person has my best interest at heart. And I also had other trusted advisors. I for the first time worked with a nutritionist who she just changed my life about understanding my eating habits. And it wasn't just about trying to look good or whatever. It was actually showing yourself self-love, which I never really understood. Like, because when you're always beating yourself, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't. But actually, no, this is you. So embrace it and try and work out how can you show yourself and give yourself the things you need so that whatever that goal that you want to achieve, you can achieve it. So there's so many trusted advisors you can have, but the main one is just making sure that you pick people who make you feel safe. I feel that's important thing, and you know that they have your best interests at heart.
I mean, that's really interesting. Like you talked about, yeah, I agree. The average person looking at how all the things you had in flux in your life would not say to you, in addition to the economic crisis, you getting up to, getting on your feet in this new field that you've launched, just becoming a father for the second time, why don't you go ahead and write a book? And it's just incredible though that was the natural next thing for you to do. And it
Uh,
was just the right environment, the right springboard to create this incredible like work that you've gifted the world. And also another thing that I'm aware of now, hearing you say this, is that nutrition is a part of your mental fitness. It's also part of how you like the self-talk that you have, and managing that and practicing self-love and all of these things that are part of you kind of having a proactive, practical, customized, and ongoing way
mm,
of taking care of your mind. So I had never thought of that element of it, but it's so incredible how far reaching a mental fitness approach can be in helping you create the kind of life you want to have. So I love that. When it comes to turning to friends who help you with building your mental fitness, let's be honest. Okay. Some of us have friendship circles that would do more harm than good.
yeah.
Okay. So, what should we be looking for to get a sense for whether this type of real talk conversation is something our group of friends can take on?
That's a great question because it's something where I moved from UK to the US and I had to leave friendships that I'd had for 20 years to come over here. And it's something that's been top of mind is like finding new friends, finding new groups. And since being here now for 5 years, I realized you have to be very, very careful the people you pick. And I don't know whether it's because I'm a coach now. I'm now more aware of energy. What's the energy like? What's your energy like when you're around certain people? Because if you're going to pick people, you need to pick them very, very carefully. Because the people you, and this, I know people say this, but it's so true. The people you surround yourself with, that's literally what you're going to become or who you are. So I've started to learn that when I come into a group, I'm very, very hyper focused on the energy. And I recently actually got the opportunity to go with the group. I've only been once, but immediately coming in with this group of guys, we went hiking and automatically I could just feel the energy. Like it just lifted me up and I was like, wow. And it was almost like being on a hike. I could tell that they were so hyper aware. They want to bring people in. They want you to feel safe. They really care about what you're saying and they want to lift you up and they want you to come back to grow. So I started to realize that important thing of like the energy. How do they really care about you? Are they really going to support you? Do they make you feel safe? And I think what you just said is so important. You need to be very careful to ask yourself these questions before you just go and join and plug yourself into a group just because you feel lonely. Like, I think you need to be very careful which group you plug yourself into. Answer those questions as well.
That's really powerful. And you do give some questions in the book for questions that you can reflect on to figure out whether the folks you're thinking of can serve in that role of trusted advisor. So that's super helpful and practical. In Mindflex number 7, you say asking a tough question to spark an even tougher conversation is almost always worth the struggle.
Yeah.
What inspired that?
It was actually from coaching because I had to start learning that there's a feeling I get now in my stomach is around this area where conversation's going, and that feeling that keeps coming back is like, but you need to ask about this. And in the beginning, I would somehow, it's not right, it's not time, it's going to make the person feel uncomfortable, blah. But every time I listened to that instinct, I was always shocked when I asked a question, what it unraveled. And then I started to, this, I try to be a coach outside of being a coach, which might not always be the best thing, but I started to take it outside into my family life, into my friendship circles, into work. And it has always served me right where that uncomfortable feeling, if I walk away from it and not ask a question, I always regret it because I know that was a question that needed to be asked. The person the response you get may not, I'm not saying it's going to be good and they're going to pat you on the back and say, thank you, well done for revealing this in. Sometimes it's not going to be the response you expect, but in your heart, when you walk away, you know that, yes, you were meant to share that truth with that person. So I think that's why I put that Mindflex there is, it's up to us to share the truth with other people because you don't know the impact it's going to have. And if you really care about someone and their mental fitness, then you owe it to them to ask that question, to point out that fact and ask that question.
And it's one thing to ask tough questions, right? And it's another thing altogether to actively listen to the answer and digest the answer. So for those who are listening and who want to start asking tough questions where it becomes clear in their mind, how can we prepare ourselves for the answer?
That's a great question because I also feel that what stops a lot of people from asking tough questions is they're not ready for what's going to come back. What if I can't help? And I think you need to disabuse yourself of this. First of all, is you might not be able to solve or do anything. But what you can do is fully and wholeheartedly bring yourself there to that space to listen and see the human being who's talking to you. Because usually that's just the first thing, just see them, hold that space. And then afterwards, you two can then co-collaborate of what do they want to do next? Because for me, I'm speaking for myself, that's what used to hold me back is like, oh, am I ready for what's about to, because that's outside of my wheelhouse. I can't help with that. And I have to always override, and even to today, I have to override that, is that it's not my job to solve it or fix it. But if I care about this person, it's my job to listen to whatever they have to say, really listen and really show empathy and then honor them and ask them, what do we want to do about this? What do you feel is the right next step?
That's powerful. And here, I just want to do a time check. How much time do we have?
We've got at least another 15 minutes.
Oh, amazing. That's all the time that I need.
Okay.
So we know that Real Talk is super insightful, but it's also just full of stories and full of these incredible characters. Do you have a favorite character and why?
I don't have one particular. I have two characters. My two characters are Ishmael and Chico, and I just really enjoyed creating those characters because they were a blend of different things, and for me, they just mean a lot. I think people can see themselves in those two characters, especially the way they show up with their courage, but also get their flaws and getting things wrong. So I just feel those two characters for me are my two favorite.
Because and this isn't biographical, but it is inspired by real people, real stories, real experiences. Am I right? Okay.
Yeah.
I was actually saying that more for listeners, but also saying that to see if your answer changes on this question. But no, that is correct. So there were a lot of epic scenes in this book. I'll be the first to tell you that I would put my hand up for, an adaptation in film. Like, if there was one scene that you would want everyone to read, what would it be?
Again, I'm going to probably say two scenes. It would have to be when all the friends finally meet up with Max, the person who tried to take his life. And I just loved the way that conversation flowed. Because for me, the takeaway I took from that is to just show people that it's never too late. Yeah, whatever in your head that you think, something can always be done, and you can still share it with the people that you love the most. And then if there was going to be my second, because I can't split between the two, both of them I loved so much, was the conversation by the fireplace that Ishmael and Chico had. Because I think that conversation to me just showed everybody's struggling with their mental fitness, whoever you are, even if you were a coach or whoever you are. And that conversation just showed that everybody's struggling and we can all collaborate and help each other by sharing and being vulnerable. So those would be my two favorite scenes.
Oh, I love that. And so if you all are just picking up this book, and you want to get the cliff notes, skip right ahead to those two scenes. The scene where the friends have that coming to Jesus moment with Max, and also the scene where Chico and Ishmael are talking by the fireplace and really modeling what real talk is, and can be. That those are great places to start. And then you can go back and read the beginning and read all the bits because it will all make sense and it will be amazing. At the end of your book, you introduce us to a character called Morpheus, who you call your guardian angel.
I do.
The illustration, by the way, in this book are out of this world. That one in particular, for me, is one of my favorites because it's so imaginative. And it literally makes me feel like I'm there in the room, a fly on the wall. And one of the things you say when you introduce us to Morpheus is learning how to talk to yourself and mastering your inner voice is crucial if you want to progress in life. What we tell ourselves, what we think about, and ultimately how we treat ourselves matters more than we think.
Yeah. And I learned this, that if you want to get real talk right, you've got to master the real talk with yourself first. And that was one of my friends, Dolores. Thank you for that, that shared that with me. So you've got to, that inner dialogue is very, very important. You need to get that right first before you start having real talk with anybody else.
I love that. Thank you, Dolores, for that. Yeah, that's a powerful, powerful reminder. Is Morpheus the loudest voice in your head on good days? And who is Morpheus in battle with on your worst days?
Those are great questions. It's strange because Morpheus has morphed since I wrote the book. So I have different kind of allies now. So it's not just Morpheus, but the allies I like to think I want to think I hear them when it's critical points, when I need to show up and I need to have the right energy, or I'm questioning my faith or doubting or about to shrink into myself. That's when I really need to hear those allies. And actually now I learn to like actually manifest them, so that their voice is the loudest in my head.
That's incredible.
What was the second question? Right, you asked us.
And who is Morpheus in battle with on your worst days?
Well, that's got to be your critic. And if anyone who's coaching me, you'd have heard me talk about your chimp. So there is the managing your ego, the part that some people try to kill that ego. You can't kill your ego because it also serves you as well. But it's learning to manage that ego and learning to use it in the right way when it's supposed to be used. So I think Morpheus is usually will come in when he has to step in when the ego is driving the wheel and is about to do damage. I like to hope that Morpheus then comes in and it's really loud. Well, not Morpheus is not even loud. He just comes in, and once you hear the voice, the ego knows, okay, it's time to step away. It's like step away from the wheel and walk off.
And simmer down, right? Oh, you do call Morpheus a badass. So, I mean, you call him a supreme badass that looks and sounds like Morpheus from the Matrix. So, well named. So, yeah, I can imagine that even the chimp is shaking in his little boots when Morpheus comes into the picture.
Yeah.
Now, I want to look forward. I'd love to hear more about your vision for the future, right? You've put out this incredible creative work into the universe. And as we know, with all that is good is that people take it and they make it their own. But what becomes possible if we take up the challenge that you've given all of us to commit to building our mental fitness, both as individuals and as a collective?
So that's a great question. And I was actually someone who I coach who's read the book just challenged me that you have to write. Actually, Kevin Goya, you have to write another book. And I was like, okay. And she was like, you have to write another book. So I realized I do have to write another book. And now my dream is I want to create a mental fitness revolution. At the time when I wrote this book, I just wanted everyone to practice mental fitness. And I was thinking more just on an individual basis. But since I've written this book, I realized I can't just coach and give people mental fitness on their own if the systems that they go into do not support that, because they will just keep coming back broken. So my challenge now is I want to create critical mass. So that first of all, everybody needs to understand mental fitness. I want to see it taught in schools. I want to be able to walk into a restaurant in any city and know that, oh, these people understand what mental fitness is. I want to go into any workspace and know that, they all get what mental fitness is. So once I create that critical mass where everyone's read this book and they're actually practicing and living by the code of proactive mental fitness, then I need to hit all the decision makers where it's like, right, you guys have this responsibility. You're the ones who create these decisions. You're the ones who allow the systems to go on. And then we need to start changing the systems so that it's conducive to mental fitness, not just at work, in families, in our communities. So I really want to get the decision makers, like, you've got to start modeling and being ambassadors, and you've got to start creating systems that allow for mental fitness. So my next book, I don't know the title yet, but it's not just going to be focused on men. It's going to be focused on everybody who cares about mental fitness, how to create that revolution where, if I look into the future, I want it where everybody's talking about mental fitness, and mental fitness becomes like physical fitness, that anywhere you turn, everyone's practicing it. But even more so, the systems, you go to work, you go to a family, you go to anywhere, and it's set up to allow for people to show up with their mental fitness and work on it.
Oh, I love that. So you're even extending the reach beyond. You're saying start with yourself, work on your mental fitness, but then take accountability for fostering mental fitness in all the environments that you're in.
Yes.
And I just want to clarify, because this podcast is for high performing leaders. You guys, we're talking to you. You are the decision makers. This isn't like some far off future position. We're saying each of us as decision makers in our families, in our work, in our businesses, in our communities, have a responsibility to foster mental fitness in all of those areas that we show up in.
Yeah.
And how wonderful that we have a community that we can draw on, the mental fitness community, this real talk community that we can draw on in sharing our insights and learning and growing and recovering when things don't go according to plan, but making that commitment every day on an ongoing basis and practicing that is the key.
For sure.
So if you could leave us with one more thing before we wrap this conversation, what would it be?
So it's a key thing which has hit me about what is mental fitness. And this only hit me probably in the last month and a half, is that it's about showing yourself self-love under pressure. Because under pressure, the first thing that people throw out is taking care of themselves or showing themselves any self-love. And I've now realized this is key to mental fitness, because if under pressure, when you need to show up and deliver the most, you can take care of yourself first, make sure the energy tank is topped up, then that's you showing the highest form of love. Because when you go into your family, your work, wherever, your community, you're going to show up with a higher energy vibration, and there's a good chance that you're going to spread more love around the world. So I want people to start showing themselves self-love, and not just when things are good and okay, yeah. I want you to be able to show yourself that self-love when you're going through the toughest periods, toughest challenges. If you can do that, then this world is going to be an amazing place to be in.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for pouring into us, for sharing so deeply with our audience and our community. Thank you for Real Talk today and this incredible creation. It's really been transformational to have this in my life, and knowing you as well as having this is awesome. But if I didn't know you, just having this would be a game changer. So just wanted to say thank you again. And for those of you who are listening, this was the spotlight going behind the scenes on Real Talk, a new approach to men's mental fitness. You heard it here first. There's a second book coming out. You're going to have to watch this space for details on that. But if you feel strongly and want to throw out ideas for title or topics, you know where to find us. Thank you, everyone, and keep building your mental fitness.
Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of another insightful episode of Real Talk. We hope you've enjoyed today's discussion and have gained valuable insights into enhancing your mental well-being and productivity. Now, before we wrap things up, we have an exciting opportunity for you. Are you curious about your mental fitness score? Want to know how you can improve your overall well-being and boost your productivity? Well, we have just the thing for you. Head over to our show notes, where you will find a link to our exclusive mental fitness quiz. It's a quick and easy assessment that will provide you with a personalized score and actionable steps to enhance your general well-being and productivity. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket. And don't forget to subscribe to Real Talk on your favorite podcast platform. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release new episodes filled with valuable discussions, expert interviews, and practical tips for leading a fulfilling life. You can also connect with me, Chinazom, on social media. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily inspirations, updates on upcoming episodes, and behind-the-scenes peeks into the Real Talk community. Remember, your mental well-being matters, and taking small steps towards improvement can make a significant difference in your life. We're here to support you on your journey. Thank you for tuning in today, and a special thank you to all our listeners who have joined us on this incredible podcasting adventure. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep striving for a better version of yourself. Take care and stay mentally fit.